All right, football fans, welcome back into the channel. Today, we're going to be talking about Shedeur Sanders' much anticipated preseason debut for the Cleveland Browns and why the Browns need to start Shedeur Sanders immediately from week one. At least I definitely think that they should. And I don't want anybody to hear what I'm not saying at this point in time. Is Shedeur Sanders today, one game only, the best quarterback on the Browns roster? I don't know. Joe Flacco might be better than him one game today. However, for the long run for the Browns, the player with the most potential on their roster at the QB position, to me, is very clearly Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders was mistreated his entire draft process, miscategorized as arrogant, and as if he wasn't a top 2 to 3 quarterback prospect in this draft, as if Jackson Dart and him really were a 4-round difference, as if Dillon Gabriel and Tyler Shuck really deserved to be drafted ahead of Shedeur Sanders from what we saw on tape. That was always egregious. But Shedeur finds himself on the Browns with Kenny Pickett and Dillon Gabriel hurt, and Joe Flacco, just as the veteran he is, not going to be playing in the preseason. Tonight, he had an opportunity. Tonight, Shedeur had an opportunity to prove that he belongs in the NFL and that he should be a starter, if not at least a backup, because the Browns having him at 4th on the depth chart is a joke. And Shedeur went out there tonight and balled. And for anybody that's going to come in and comment, well, it was against the Panthers backups, get out of here. Get out of here. On the eye test, Shedeur Sanders showed you what could make him a high-level quarterback at the NFL level. Am I saying Shedeur Sanders is for sure going to be a top 10 QB in the NFL? No, I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is this guy clearly deserves an opportunity to be a starter in the NFL, develop, and we'll see where it goes. We knew coming out of the draft, arm talent was there. Arm strength and arm talent, nobody ever debated it. Tonight, he showed more mobility than I think people thought, more accuracy. Hell, his first touchdown pass, the pocket navigation, the ability to read through his progressions, and that absolute dot in the back corner of the end zone threaded the needle through 2 defenders. That was one hell of a throw. Backups or no backups. That was a fantastic play from Shedeur Sanders. Multiple great throws on the run. The ability to extend plays, size, strength. It is all there. All the physical tools are there with Shedeur. Is there perhaps an immaturity? I'm sure there is. The guy just left college where, let's be honest, at Colorado, he was the king of that school, the king of the program. Does he need a little bit of humbling at the NFL level? Maybe, but he's not the first rookie that's going to need that. The point is, this kid can absolutely play. And to bury him on a Browns quarterback depth chart behind Kenny Pickett and Dillon Gabriel would be a disgrace. And if the Browns are serious about elevating themselves for the future, they should start him from week one. Joe Flacco, again, may be better today than Shedeur Sanders. But Joe Flacco isn't winning the Cleveland Browns a Super Bowl this year. Let's call a spade there. Why not try and get the most out of Shedeur Sanders? Why not let him develop connections with these young offensive talent pieces on your team? Your Jerry Jeudy, David Njoku, Harold Fannin, Dylan Sampson. If Quinshon Judkins can figure it out. Why not let him build up chemistry? Why not let him grow as a player on the field this year? There is no reason why the Browns, after what they saw tonight, should have Shedeur Sanders QB4, QB3, or in my opinion, QB2. He should at worst be the backup to Flacco early on and get an opportunity to start this year, or be the starter from week one. And if you're the Browns and you take yourself slightly serious as a franchise, and you have somewhat of a realistic outcome and you understand going into the season, yeah, this probably isn't our Super Bowl year, you would start Shedeur from day one. Because not necessarily this season or week one, but in the long term, for future success, there isn't a QB better on the roster today. There just isn't one. And Shedeur absolutely deserves an opportunity. All right, I got the stats pulled up now for you. Shedeur 14-23 for 138 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 106.8 passer rating in this game. Like I said, there was a lot to highlight from Shedeur's perspective. The mobility was there, that rush to pick up the first down, extending plays. Did he hold on to the ball a little bit too much at times? Yeah, but that's a problem that a lot of rookies have at the NFL level. I think it's a problem Cam Ward's going to have. Shedeur would have it. These guys that in college and probably in high school as well were just kind of tasked with being Superman for their team are always going to have that, if I hold on to the ball a little bit longer moment where they feel like, hey, I could really make this play happen. And ultimately, at the NFL level, sometimes the game will come at you fast, and that could lead to sacks and eventually fumbles, potentially turnovers, where you're maybe just better off getting rid of the ball. So again, though, a lot of rookies have that problem. Shedeur, the ability to throw on the run was there. The progression, I thought his ability to progress through his routes was really, really sharp. I thought he was able to analyze the defense, go from one receiver to another, hit the open man, take what was given, and really, really performed at a high level in terms of IQ in this game. From a what route progression should I go to? Who should I get this ball to? Can I make that play? We talked about it earlier, but his first touchdown pass of the game, the ability to navigate the pocket, roll out to the left, but not be throwing cross body, to get his feet set, fire, thread that needle, get the ball to the back corner of the end zone where only his receiver could get it. That was some high level shit from Shedeur. And the praise needs to be as loud as the criticism was. Absolutely. His second touchdown pass was, again, a missile. Not as impressive as the first throw, but still a great throw to be able to thread that needle, to be able to throw in the middle of the field. A lot of rookies like to work sideline to sideline. So Shedeur being able to get the middle of the field involved was nice to see. There were a couple errant throws, a couple holding onto the ball too long. I don't want to sit here and say that Shedeur was, a top 10 quarterback from the eye test, but he looked like a guy that it's worth developing and it's worth believing in. And all the fans that were there for Shedeur, hell, at the end of the day, it might be worth it to start him just to sell the jerseys. This is going to be interesting as things unfold, because when you look at this game, and I'm going to go back to the full screen here. When you looked at this game, going into it, this was obviously a huge opportunity for Shedeur. Whether it was going to work and we were going to be having this conversation, or if he failed, the haters would be out and he'd be buried on the depth chart. But now that we're having this conversation where Shedeur played fantastic tonight, not perfect, 8.5 out of 10, and has the youth, the best arm on the team, the fan support behind him, the national media would more prefer Shedeur start. And again, like I mentioned, in the range of outcomes of all 4 quarterbacks on the Browns roster, the ceiling is the highest with Shedeur. And if you're not going to win this year, in my opinion, and what should be recognized as fact, you're better off starting Shedeur in 2025. But that is always, as always, those are just my thoughts. Be sure to let me know yours in the comment section down below. What did you think of Shedeur Sanders' preseason debut? And do you think the Cleveland Browns should be starting him in 2025 and even in week 1? If you love the NFL, make sure you subscribe to the channel for instant game reactions like this. Yeah, I got division preview series going on the channel right now. We always got tier lists, instant game reactions, talking all things football, you name it. Hit that sub button, hit that like button. I'll catch you next time. Peace.